Right. Bonnie, who else are we waiting on?
That's it. We're good. We've got
Okay.
4 members.
Bonnie,
Hey,
we're ready to
Jeffrey?
roll.
Yep. Hey, give me 1 second here.
Good evening. It is Tuesday. It is the, what is it today? It is the 17th of May. There's 228 days left to May. It is 5 p.m. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Pitkin County, Colorado. We are not in the BOCC meeting room. Tonight we have one agenda item. This meeting is called to order at 5 p.m. At this point, I will open, this will be a public hearing. It is a location and extent review for the Rio Grande Trail as per Colorado revised state statute, and I'll read that briefly. But at this point, I'm looking for commissioner comments unrelated to Pitkin County open space and the Rio Grande Trail location and extent review. So we have a quorum: Mr. Woodruff, Matthews, Ms. Caskey, Ms. Tiger. Any commissioner comments unrelated to the 17th of May location extent of Pitkin County open space and trails, Rio Grande node, Highline like park extension and improvements? Staff comments, including the fact that they snuck a 24th of May meeting into the calendar a week from tonight.
It's been unsnuck. Yes, I have a few comments. Thank you, Jeffrey. So actually, there is no meeting on the 24th. We've been holding that for a potential meeting for some of the master plans for East Aspen and Castle Creek, and are not prepared to bring anything to you on that date. So no meeting next week. I know Jasmine doesn't isn't able to come on video, but thank you to the other commissioners for having your video on. We were going to start pushing you guys to have your video on during meetings and keep it on during the whole meeting. So just a little prod from our end for that. And Jeffrey, to your comment about being virtual and not in person, we talked a little bit today, and I think what we'd like to propose is that we will hold virtual only meetings unless we have at least 3 members of the commission who want to attend in person. But we would have to know that the Friday before the meeting. So when we kind of send that message about, you know, who's attending, what's going on, if we have 3 members willing to come in person, we will then put the, you know, make sure the mechanisms in place to make that happen. Otherwise, you know, it's easier for us to just plan for a totally virtual. And obviously, if there are people in person, we would still have the hybrid option for people to just Zoom in. So, but that's kind of what we were thinking the threshold would be to make it worthwhile for everybody to you know, push to have the in-person meeting. So just to throw that out there. And last thing, and I will email everyone on the P&Z since I know we're missing some members tonight. Your next caseload item on June 7th is the Turnabout Ranch, which is the former Thai Bar Ranch on Prince Creek Road. A pretty big application, includes growth management, some major changes to their prior subdivision PUD approval. Staff is having a site visit next Monday, the 23rd at 2:30 out there. And we decided that we would invite the P&Z to join if that timing works for you. So I'll follow up with an email, but just heads up for those of you who are on the meeting, that would be next Monday, the 23rd, meeting at 2:30 up Prince Creek Road, basically. But we would need to, again, kind of get ahead of time who's coming, so we can notice if need be, if we have more than a couple of P&Z members joining us. And, you know, if need be, we can just go ahead and notice it as a P&Z meeting. And then if we don't end up having, you know, people show up, that's okay too. But we thought it would be a good opportunity since we're going out to have you all join us if you're available. So I will follow up with an email on that. I think that's all I had on my list.
Excellent. Tammy or Bonnie, unrelated to the Rio Grande Trail location extent review?
Nope.
Nothing here.
Excellent. So this is a public hearing. Any public comments unrelated to the Rio Grande Trail location extent review? I will leave that open for a couple of seconds. And while we're looking for public comment, I've been reading Donald Elliott's book. So for those of you that don't have a copy, it's fantastic. Colorado Land Planning and Development Law. If you need anything to help you with sleep ever, it is fantastic. But in there, under Colorado Revised Statute, the regulation of public improvements, it includes a chapter on approving a master plan and then how a municipal government proposing the construction of any public improvement of public utility must first submit plans identifying the location, character, and extent of the proposed improvement or utility to the Planning Commission for its approval. So that is why we're here this evening. This is sometimes referred to as location extent review of the proposed public facility. And there's no statutory definition of what a review of location, character, and extent includes or does not at the state level. And different Colorado communities have a wide variety of review procedures and criteria. So as you may recall from the last location extent, the criteria that we use is really the master plans of each of the areas that are impacted. So whether that's Emma or Woody Creek or east of Aspen, that is the way we look at the location extent. And both Carly and Tammy in the application and the staff response focus directly on each of the community master plans. And so with that as a backdrop, the Colorado Revised Statutes, get your own copy. It's amazing. Tammy.
I'll just make a quick plug that Don Elliott in person is really a great presenter. He's always the preferred presenter at all of our conferences because he actually is entertaining.
His book is excellent. So sarcasm aside, if you don't have a copy, it's really good. And it's nice to be reminded at the state statute level, the purpose of location extent, not just how we adopted within the home rule charter, how we look at location extent from a Pitkin County perspective. So it's worthwhile.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Jeffrey. I don't have to do half my presentation now. So being that there's a limited number of commissioners, I can keep this really short and assume you read the packet, or I'm happy to dive in on each of those master plans. But just to throw that out there, if you want to cut me off, feel free. But so to start, right, location extent review submitted by Open Space and Trails, very similar to what we looked at a month ago with the North Star and Redstone review. But this time they are requesting to implement elements of their Rio Grande Trail management plan. And that includes basically strategically placed trailhead and node, they're calling it trailhead and node locations for specific improvements. Also, a part of that is constructing a bridge at the underpass of Gervais Way and the Rio Grande, that would connect to the Rio Grande. So overall, these improvements are meant to basically provide updated resting and viewing areas, improve access to public lands, and overall improve just the existing amenities, such as signs and benches. So with the exception of that bridge I mentioned, most of them are to existing amenities or disturbed areas. And like I said, it's replacing benches, adding a shade structure, picnic tables, vegetation management, some grading and resurfacing. There's a minor parking improvements, some proposed water stations and pet stations and the like. And then where possible, they are trying to incorporate some ADA access. And also, I just want to clarify that there's definitely no lighting proposed in this application. Just get on screen here. So on the screen, you should see actual map of where some of these locations are proposed. There's 16 of them in total, and they span between the Emma Schoolhouse and Stein Park. And just a little bit of background. So as you know, the Rio Grande Trail is primarily owned by RAFTA, although between the Emma Schoolhouse into Woody Creek, that area is managed by Open Space and Trails through a trail easement. And then from Woody Creek to Stein Park, Pickens County has ownership of that trail corridor. So this plan did go through an extensive public outreach process lasting about a year, where most of these different caucuses that the trail improvements touch, they were involved in the process. This application was also referred to the attorney, Woody Creek Caucus, Emma Caucus, RAFTA, City of Aspen, and Basalt, and the planning engineer. And we did get comments from the Emma Caucus, which was in the packet. And we also did get a letter from Helen Carlson, which you should have received yesterday via a forwarded email. So again, most of the improvements are fairly minor. So I can just show you on screen some of these sites where, like, for example, here at the Emma Schoolhouse, there's a kiosk. They're doing some improved grading. Similarly, here at the Basalt Trailhead, putting in a resurfaced pad here for 2 new picnic tables, and then adding some benches. So this is kind of a good picture of what's going on at each of these nodes. Is this, you know, a pad off the side of the trail and a bench. So I'll just jump to the Aspen Village Bridge, because that is quite different from the rest of the proposed improvements. So in this situation, they are proposing a new steel truss bridge, basically connecting the Aspen Village neighborhood to the Rio Grande. And right now they've had SGM study the areas, and they've come up with these 4 alignments shown on the screen. Alignment 2 is the preferred alignment shown here, just because it'd be most cost effective and least visually intrusive as viewed from the highway. But right now they've got these 4 options just because they would need to work with BLM and CDOT to get permission to touch some of these areas. All right, so as Jeffrey outlined the process and the purpose of location and extent, the purpose is for the P&Z to review these improvements against the applicable master plans. So as I said, the 4 plans that we're talking about in this situation are the Emma Master Plan, the Down Valley Comprehensive Plan, the Woody Creek Master Plan, and the Western Maroon Plan. So I'm not going to go through each of these 4 plans and each of the improvements, but just say that each of the 4 plans are very similar in that they have very similar goals and objectives. Primarily in that they really value preserving the rural character and natural environment. And this is done through scenic protection, preserving wildlife habitat and open space areas, and managing growth, air quality, and water quality, as well as traffic. They also all speak to, in some way or another, providing access to the public, to public lands and trails. So, as it's outlined in the memo, staff believes that the proposed improvements do conform with each of these master plans, and that the improvements will improve the user experience on the Rio Grande Trail, which ultimately will encourage non-motorized transportation and recreation. That'll in turn promote the preservation of air quality, the rural character, providing safe and alternative ways to get up and down the valley and enjoy open space areas. Visually, most of the elements have been designed to be, very minimal and reflect that rural character. They're all indigenous earth tone colors. The surfaces are crush refined and are very minimal in nature. Besides the bridge, again, they're all within existing developed areas, within the existing footprints of what is there currently. Some of the plans also speak to preserving the agricultural heritage. So in that situation, a lot of the kiosks that are proposed are aimed at providing information about those specific locations and history, speaking to that agricultural history. And then again, obviously this bridge improvement is going to be the largest, and staff believes that Open Space and Trails has done a great job at, again, utilizing natural colors and minimizing the visual impact, and that it will provide great access to the Aspen Village neighborhood. So overall, staff believes that these improvements really are in conformance with each of those 4 master plans I mentioned, and therefore recommends that the P&Z find the Rio Grande Trailhead and node improvements in conformance with those plans as well. And so I'm happy to go into more detail into each of those plans. I know it's pretty quick. And then we also have Carly here who can answer specifics on the actual improvements.
So any commissioner questions to clarify any of the above for Tammy? Tammy, which bridge is that, by the way? Sorry, top left. It's Basalt or Wingo Junction?
I think that's, I think that might be a Photoshop.
That is an example, not
Yeah.
the valley of what the bridge would look like.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I thought
and the one that it will match pretty similarly is the one at Lazy Glen, Jeffrey, if you've been down there.
I thought you guys were really good at photoshopping that bridge, and I thought that was the actual location.
so questions for Tammy, or would the planning commissioners like a brief presentation from Carly as well? Carly, the floor is yours.
Well, we haven't prepared any formal presentation, so please feel free to ask any questions, or if there's further information you want on a specific site, we can provide that.
So I will, I guess, unless I see any hands, stay with the same theme that I started with, I guess, in Highway 82, which was part of your presentation and the improvements around openness, inclusivity, connecting additional communities to the Rio Grande Trail. And so along those lines, will the signs include Braille? And further, if you're going to have a single water closet, will it be ADA? As opposed to, for example, the one that's out at Emma Schoolhouse today. So I'm sticking with the same theme that I think what I'm reading in your presentation, the bridges are really about bringing communities to the Rio Grande Trail, and are we properly serving the community, through accessibility with the improvements?
So I'll answer the first question on the signs. A parallel effort, which will not be reviewed as part of a P&Z review, is a signage and wayfinding plan for the Rio Grande Trail. So as part of that effort, we'll release a request for proposals for a consultant to prepare a comprehensive wayfinding plan for the Rio Grande Trail. And as part of that, and the part that you're approving today, or we're requesting approval for, are the kiosks or the signs. So we've labeled them as kiosks or sign just to be general, as to like a standard term. What those will end up being is yet to be determined with our consultant. So we are looking to create more interactive ways of communicating some of the interpretive information at the nodes. So that's to come. And I think the suggestion that you have to include accessible language is key. Braille, another effort that we're trying hard on all of our signs is to use more photos, more images for bilingual speakers. So there will certainly be that element to it as well. And then obviously being able to access and read the information. So we'll be thinking about that along the trails. So that's to come. And I think that's a great suggestion. And then your following question, remind me, was.
So I'm going to stick with my same ADA, which is if you're dropping off single person water closets, shouldn't they then be by default? The first one should always be ADA accessible. So versus what we see at Emma Schoolhouse today, if I did a site visit, there's a single, again, from a welcoming community standpoint, it's the same sort of notions as we brought up on Highway 82, that if I pull into Emma Schoolhouse, it should be open and accessible to the entire community.
And Emma Schoolhouse is one that we could explore that. There is currently a porta potty there, but it's not enclosed. And so the enclosure would be part of this plan. We will work with that Schoolhouse Trust to locate the actual location of the structure, but it's something we could certainly consider there. In the other locations, those like in Jaffe Park, that porta potty has already been installed. So that one is already there.
And the one at Jaffe, there are two. One is ADA there. I think, Jeffrey, to your point, we can look at including that in the Woody Creek one when we kind of advance those designs through the design build. And that's really the only other restroom I think that.
I think so.
In the
Well,
plan.
and you also have the basalt. The basalt one is ADA accessible now. Emma, right now, Emma is not maintained by us. That's the Emma School Trust. So we're going to be working with that trust to figure out the next step for that. They'll be probably very excited if we take over management of that one. And we, all the ones that we have been doing, we're trying to make them ADA accessible.
Thank you, Carly and Jesse and Carrie. Other commissioner comments or questions regarding the node plan? So I think, as you may know, that it's an excellent presentation. I know you've given it to your board, so thank you for giving it one more time to planning and zoning, but it really shows the thought at each of the locations throughout the valley, and we're truly appreciative. If I don't see any other commissioner hands, I am actually going to call the previous question. Monty or Jasmine, final offer, Zachary? I don't recognize you without a Hunter Thompson poster behind you.
I did some remodeling.
Thank you for that. Monty, you have your hand up.
Yeah, just when is the timeline? If this gets approved, when do you think all these things will take place, like the bridge and the improvements?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've been working to develop the request for proposal for the improvement side of things, right? So so we hope to release that in the next few weeks, possibly early June. Sign up a contractor mid to late summer. And then as part of the process, as you could certainly tell from the plans that were provided in the location and extent review, they're in a little bit of schematic format. So there's quite a bit more more thought that will be given to those. But rather than complete full-blown construction documents, what we'll be doing is working with a local contractor in a design build process. And so looking at each site more specifically, there will be some level of more refinement to the plans provided to the degree that we need permits, but really the contractor will be responsible for installing the improvements to a lesser refined plan. That's part of the design build process, and that we expect to start late summer, possibly as early as September is what we've outlined in the RFP so far. And then just due to the nature of contractors and work and availability of materials right now, what we're looking to do is provide an opportunity for a selected contractor to have until early next summer to complete the improvements. So obviously there'd be a stop for some of the winter months. There may be some work that may be able to occur during that time, but giving a contractor through early next summer to complete the work. And that's just because of some of the issues that we're seeing with some of supply chains and availability of material. And so to get fair bids, that's what we're looking for.
And then Monty, specifically for the bridge, which is bid as a separate, we are working through permitting with the BLM and RAFTA parallel to this approval. So similar timeline, hoping to kind of do construction on that in the spring 2023, or, when things are melted out, is the ideal if everything goes smoothly.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the supply chain and working is so hard to schedule these days. That's why I just kind of was wondering what you guys were thinking about that. So thank you.
And that's a lot of, originally we had kind of envisioned doing this more piecemeal or breaking it into smaller pieces. And really, in order to get a good bid and to get it really done, we were like, let's just give it a go and do it all together.
I have to, from a state standpoint, open this up to public comment or public feedback outside of the commissioners. But as I see 11 people on this call, Bonnie, do I have anyone dialed in for Zoom on a Tuesday night?
No, you do not.
So at this point, I am closing the public hearing, bringing it back to the commissioners. Are we ready for a motion? Ooh, I like those. Good. Those are good head shakes. So at this point, I would entertain a resolution of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Pitkin County, Colorado, finding the Rio Grande Trailhead and node improvements, location and extent review in conformance with Emma Master Plan, Down Valley Comprehensive Plan, the Woody Creek Master Plan, and the WAMP. Sorry, the West of Maroon Plan. Sorry, I need a first.
I'll go ahead and first.
A second.
I'll second.
Monty and Jasmine, further commissioner comments or discussion? Clarifying questions? Thank you so much to Open Space and Trails again for this incredible presentation and details and your time. At this point, I would, we have a first, we have a second. Any additional comments? Just going twice. It is 5:28. This might be a record for planning and zoning. At this point, we have a resolution of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Pitkin County, Colorado, finding the Rio Grande Trailhead and node improvements, location, and extent review in conformance with the Emma Master Plan, the Down Valley Comprehensive Plan, the Woody Creek Master Plan, and the WAMP. Zachary Matthews.
Yes.
Suzanne Caskey.
Yes.
Jasmine Tiger.
Yes.
Monty Thompson.
Yes.
So the motion passes 5-0 with a roll call vote. I apologize, it's 5:29. It's a summer evening in Pitkin County, Colorado, spring evening. Any further business? I want to appreciate and say thank you again to Carly, Jesse, and Gary, again, for all of their work behind the scenes, also on the work that Planning and Zoning does. And before we adjourn, is there any feedback you want to give the Planning and Zoning Commission, since you have everyone here, 5 of 7, that we should know going forward? Because you've obviously looked at some of the applications that haven't even come to our desk, stuff like growth management, GMQS, obviously the Bavarian Highlands Ranch, which has made a wonderful article in the newspaper this week. Feedback from you guys, now that location extension is behind us, anything you want to give us in terms of, for example, upcoming GMQS reviews that you may have penned or drafted already, letters to us?
I think as far as these reviews go, and the last 3 that you've seen us present for, we just appreciate you taking the time to really thoughtfully and with so much detail look through the applications that we've provided. You know, I think we as a staff are looking forward to specifically with this plan, the small improvements this will make to someone's trail experience traveling the length of the Rio Grande or North Star, or the Redstone improvements. So, you know, you've seen a lot of us lately, and we'll be back with a couple more things in the next year. So we just appreciate this time. So thank you.
And Jeffrey, we do appreciate all of your attention that you give to our reviews on land use referrals. We really, you know, in that realm, you know, for us, the Open Space Board does try to stay within their lane of open space and trails. And you guys have been very thoughtful with your review of those comments and incorporating what you feel is appropriate. So you'll see a lot more of those coming. We just got a slew of them. So with Turnabout Ranch and you saw obviously the Highland Bavarian, but you know, there are more coming, and we're taking it more seriously because under the Open Space Charter, the Open Space Board does have that the voters approve, does have, you know, in the charter, it does say that they should be, you know, reviewing land use applications in terms of open space and trails. So, and with the amount of GMQSs we're getting, it's been pretty amazing amount of time that the board's taking, but you guys have always taken them very seriously, so they appreciate that.
Yeah, and as you know, and maybe the other planning and zoning commissioners will echo, that given we've had limited site visits over the past few years, the details that Paul or, you know, Carly or Jesse, who's ever drafting the replies, they are invaluable. And I think when we come to the resolution as well, we can amend the resolution or push back even to staff in terms of what, you know, we planning and zoning are approving and potentially recommending to the county commissioners. So it doesn't just stop with your memo. It actually does end up most likely in a condition of approval through planning and zoning. So we really do appreciate the time and effort that you put into that. And I think it does show in the resolutions and the amendments that we make to the resolutions, even at the final minute. So thank you.
So Jeffrey, I'll just jump in quick and because right, we said no meeting on the 24th. We have a commercial growth management for you in June on the 7th. And then we have 3 additional floor area growth management applications for you on July 5th. So those are the scheduled meetings right now. I'm guessing Ellen and Cindy will probably use that second meeting in June, the 21st, for some of their long range stuff, but that hasn't been scheduled yet. So just for upcoming meetings.
Suzanne,
and I'll be in touch about the site visit.
Excellent. Suzanne.
Suzanne Wolf, would you go over that schedule one more time?
Yeah, so no meeting next week.
Mm-hmm.
Your next regular meeting is June 7th. And that will be a caseload item, this Turnabout Ranch. And then our next caseload meeting will be July 5th. I'm guessing you may have a long range, you know, something for long range on June 21st as well. So that would be that third Tuesday.
I'm going to be away for some of those meetings. And I would guess that, Suzanne, it's you that I should contact to let you know when I'm definitely going to be away, to let you know ahead of time.
Yes, please do. And when I send out the information about the site visit, I can also put those dates out for everybody and kind of ask, because again, I always worry about those near a holiday, particularly the 4th of July. But we went ahead because since that's the regularly scheduled meeting. So I'll ask people to let me know if they're not going to be available for any of those dates.
Okay.
So thank you again to staff, to the Open Space and Trails team, and to the Planning and Zoning Commissioners. It is 5:35. You all owe me an hour and 25 minutes of your life. I would like to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Enjoy your night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.